Welcome to the Village Talks. This is a space where physiology meets lived experience, where we talk honestly about the body, the nervous system, relationships, and the real questions families are asking without fear-based narratives or a one-size-fits-all answer. We're your hosts. I'm Dr. Jaimy.
And I'm Dr. Brittany. We're chiropractors, perinatal specialists, and humans who work closely with families through preconception, pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and early parenthood. Whether you're preparing for pregnancy, currently pregnant, newly postpartum, raising a little one, or supporting someone who is, you're in the right place.
Let's get into today's conversation. Welcome back to the podcast. On today's episode, we are going to be discussing maternal identity and what this looks like in today's culture. What are the expectations that we put on ourselves or that we feel society puts on us? And how do we really see this impacting patients in our practice? What are we observing in these interactions? And then what are they sharing with us in terms of their specific struggles in this topic?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. And I'm going to put you on the spot too and have you talk about some of your experiences too in this realm, because I've supported a lot. Obviously, I haven't gone through it myself. And when that day comes, we'll get there.
Yeah.
And I'll have all these conversations to have with you.
Yeah.
But I think we hear a lot about how everything changes and everything shifts and all that kind of stuff. And until you're really in it, you don't understand it fully, but you can still support it.
Yep.
But at the same time too, it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
All the different culture identities, all the different how you grew up, what your family believes in, what you believe in now, what your partner believes in, how they were raised. Like there's so many nuances that go into it. And every experience is different.
Yep. First,
Second, third, however many you decide to have, if you decide to have none, right? Like it's a very big shift in general.
Yeah. I think, massive shift is the thing, right? And I don't think anybody gets pregnant, goes through pregnancy, or approaches birth not expecting things to change. But I don't think most people anticipate just how completely everything changes.
Yeah.
And so you become a different person. The person after giving birth, no matter what that looks like, is different. Your brain chemistry has changed. It's not just your body, right? Like, yeah, there's some physical changes, but your brain chemistry changes. There's some of these are a little bit cheesy, but some of them I'm like, yep, nope, that's pretty spot on. People talk about like, it's like having your heart live outside of your body, or like your heart has been cracked open, right? Like you cannot comprehend what love is until you have a tiny human that's 50% you. And there isn't really a way to fully explain that until you've experienced it for yourself. And so I think we talk about that with birth, we talk about that with pregnancy. You can read all the books, you can take all the classes, but you can't truly understand until you've been through it, because it's not an experience that you've had before, right? And that's fair for everything that we haven't experienced.
Absolutely.
So it's not to say that people can't have education, information, and gather and set an expectation for this. But I think this is where a lot of people struggle in postpartum, is not fully comprehending just how much things change, and not just from their day-to-day activities or the roles for who's responsible in their house. It is your identity as a human being, right? And who you were before is not who you are after. And for some people, this is a grieving process because they were really proud of or really attached to who they were before and what their identity was before. And for other people, there's a lot of celebration in this new identity because it was a goal, it was a dream, it was struggled for a long time. So there's all the emotions around the identity change.
Absolutely.
And that's just your own internal, right? Then you've got all the external stuff of, what does your partner expect from you? What do your parents and your friends? Are you the first to have a baby? Are you the last to have a baby? That's going to shift expectations. We've got cultural expectations. Does your work think you're coming back and see? Like, there's so many external things. It's what we see in movies. It's what we see in TV shows. Like, it's what we see on social media every day. This is all impacting that internal struggle of dealing with this new identity. So all we can do expectation wise is tell you like it's going to be dramatically different. It's going to be wildly different. It's why when we talk about preparing for postpartum, like you got to set expectations and boundaries with family. You got to have good communication with your partner because there's so much internal turmoil here really, really often. Yeah. And it's not like, oh, you hit 6 weeks and now this is your new identity. It's figured out. This goes on. Yeah. This goes on stops. Forever. Yep. It never stops, right? Like a conversation recently with a patient about who is also self-employed and is feeling really very, very grateful that she has good support and that she can go back to her job on her own terms because she has childcare from her mom who she trusts implicitly with her baby, and that because she's self-employed, she gets to decide how many days is she going to work and how many hours and all of that. Like that is absolutely a gift, and she realizes that. But it's still trying to figure out, okay, well, this is what being a business owner looked like for me before. Yeah. And this has to change. Yeah. Right. And does this or does this not fit into the idea of what I thought it was going to be before? And then there's the mom guilt. Like, we don't even talk about the guilt. Right. But then there's also rampant. That of like, even knowing that your baby is very safe with someone else that you trust completely doesn't make it easy to leave. Totally. Even when you're going to a job that you love and is very fulfilling, it doesn't make it easy to leave. Yeah. So everything is just complicated. Yeah. None of this is simple. None of it is black and white.
And there's no right or wrong.
There's no right or wrong. Yeah. I think that anticipating that things will be very different and that you are going to have a lot of emotions and feelings around it is the best that you can do. Yeah. Understand that it is dynamic. It's going to continue to change, and try as much as you can to sort of shut out the external noise. Have somebody that you talk to about this is really helpful, whether that's a professional, whether that's friends or family or other people that have gone through it. I do think this is where, the community or the village is really helpful, because you start to realize like everybody's struggling with this a little bit, maybe not the same piece of it or the same part of it. Some people are just still dealing with how birth went. Yeah. And there's a lot of emotions around that they're dealing with. And then how does that impact how they're feeling about their identity as a parent? Absolutely. Or as a crunchy person who got an epidural and a C-section. Yep. Or, there's so many things that go into that.
Well, and there's so much judgment, which is really hard, because we always, not we specifically, but as a society, we hear all the time, we need to support mothers. We need to support mothers more, all this stuff. But at the same time, in the mother circles, there's so much judgment that is passed of like, oh, well, I didn't do that with my baby and they came out fine. Or you're doing it wrong because you're co-sleeping and that's going to spoil your kid. Or, you're a bad parent because you don't want to co-sleep and you want them in a bassinet next to you, or blah, blah. Like there's so many different judgments that happen. And I know it's easier said than done, but if we could just stop worrying so much about what other people were doing, I do feel like we would see a big energetic shift in the support that we give our mothers. Yes. Yeah. And our parents. But like when it comes to the maternal aspect of how much change, that's what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is kind of specifically to, the maternal identity or, identity of the person who's given birth here. And, and it's not to say that dads and partners don't experience this, because they do.
Yep. And we'll get into that. We'll bring some dads on and stuff. Yeah,
but I think that's, and what I have come to find in listening to people passing judgment, whether towards me or other people, is the person that is saying, well, I didn't do that, my baby was fine. That outward verbal judgment is because internally they feel judged because you made a different choice than they did. Yep. And if you did it differently, it's because you think they did it wrong. Yep. Right. And so I think if you can realize that it's coming, they're saying it, not actually because they care about what you're doing. Yeah. It's because they feel you're making a judgment against them. Yep. And so sometimes this comes because they do already have doubts about the choices they've made. Yeah. And you're reaffirming those doubts for them. Yeah. And they don't like that. It makes them uncomfortable. Fair enough. Yeah. And some people will handle it in a way where they don't say anything and they think about it and they deal with it. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, emotionally matured adult.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, this is an external, they are taking their internal struggle and they are making it external.
Yeah.
And the healthiest thing that we can do in this already really challenging time is not engage with that struggle.
Totally.
And just, great, I'm glad your kids are healthy.
Mm-hmm.
End of the conversation.
Yeah.
I think there's so much more of this because a lot of people aren't going to say that to your face.
Mm-hmm.
So much of this judgment is coming through social media or avenues where we don't have to sit and say this face to face. Most people would not say most of the things that they say on the internet if they were in a room with somebody.
Absolutely.
Because like, even when somebody's saying that, I don't think they're saying it because they want you to feel like a crappy mom.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about you. It's
Yep.
about them. So yes, we're constantly bombarded by it and it's impossible to ignore it all.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you have to do what feels right for you, what feels right for your baby, what feels right for your family, what
Mm-hmm.
feels right for your job.
Yep.
Like, you're the one who's impacted. Like, yes, your baby's impacted too,
Mm-hmm.
but your health, your joy, your presence are
Mm-hmm.
what your baby needs.
Yep.
And none of us are going to be perfect parents.
Mm-hmm.
My
matter
husband
how
and
many you have.
husband, my husband and I joke about it. My friends joke about it. Like, well, they can tell their therapist about it someday. Like, we're doing the best we can.
Yeah.
All the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody's doing the best that they can in the moment.
Yep.
And some days it's not great.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean you don't feel like crap about it later or the next day.
Mm-hmm.
But your capacity on some days is really low.
Yep.
And your capacity on some days is really high. And some days
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be really patient. And you're not going to lose it when the toddler uses the yogurt as paint, and other days you are going to yell at them and you're going to feel bad about it because they're two, like, these things are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this is something that is so individual. And there's so many factors, but I think the biggest thing, we were just talking about this before, is this got shared on social media. So even though we sometimes kind of bash social media, like, there are good parts of the internet too, right?
It's all nuanced.
Yes. And I think that sometimes I love the stuff that gets shared because, a lot of the people that I follow and the podcasts that I listen to kind of exist in the birth world
Mm-hmm.
and do a lot of the things that we do. And so a doula had posted something on social media, and it was like wisdom shared by a midwife that she's like, it really stuck with me. And I was like, oh, it's really sticking with me too.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking specifically about transition in birth. And so we talk about transition, 7, 8, 9 centimeters, right? Like, it's the end. It's often described as the hardest part or the most intense part of
Mm-hmm.
labor. It is often where people will ask for pain relief, or it is the part where people say, I can't do this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so she was like, it's that the person saying, I can't do this, is the person you were up until now.
Yeah.
And you are not, this transition is not about your baby. This is you transitioning from who you were before
Mm-hmm.
and that identity to who you need to become to get through this process
Mm-hmm.
and be a mother to this child.
Yeah.
And so that's the transition.
It's
It
so
is an
powerful.
identity shift
I get so emotional when I think
in
about
that
this.
moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was like, oh, holy shit.
Yeah. It's
That's
so real.
exactly what it is. And
Yeah.
it's so, I think you can comprehend it, but we can't explain it.
No.
And it's not something we choose.
Mhm.
And it's not something, and people saying like, I can't do it. You're like, she can't, but she did.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Mhm.
the person you're going to become,
Mhm.
she already did it.
Yep.
You don't even have to worry about
She already
it.
decided. Yeah.
You just, and I think that sensation in the body in that
Mhm.
moment is physical, it is emotional, it is panic
Mhm.
because you haven't done it before,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Yeah.
think about, you're about to jump out of a plane.
Mhm.
You're about to jump, like, something that is really big and scary and exciting and you want to do it.
Yeah.
But that anticipation right before,
Uh-huh.
it's for a lot of people, that's not power, that's helplessness.
Yeah.
Right. And there is no choice.
Mhm.
You don't get to step back from the plane's edge. Like,
Yeah.
this is going to keep going.
Yeah.
And it can feel like a moment of helplessness, and
Mhm.
it might not be pain. It might not be pressure. It might
Mhm.
not be fear.
Yeah.
It is just, this is the precipice.
Yeah.
And
This is
you're
where you
gonna
get
move
cracked wide
through.
open. Yeah. And not in the
Yes.
literal sense, but just from an energetic standpoint, and like being able to witness as many births as I have. And I'm very grateful to be allowed into this space as a witness and support. But it's not always, I can't do this. We hear it commonly, but it is, you know,
my words were, I need something.
Yeah.
And my husband's like, do you need ice? Do you like, what do you need?
Yeah. And you're like, I don't know. I don't know what I need.
I just was like, and that was like, I need help. I need, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I need because I don't even know where this is going, but this is a place I've already never been before.
The unknown is already so scary. Yeah. But another one is like, you know, like I can't have back labor. I can't do this for the rest of my labor. I can't have back labor. And I'm like, actually, we're like so close. You're okay. Yeah. I didn't say that, but in my mind, that's what I'm thinking.
No, but you know that everybody in the room knows that.
Yep.
Right. That's the thing. That's where like the midwives, the doulas, the OBs, everybody knows like, like
this is it.
Everybody gets here. Everybody has this moment. It might be a moment. It might be an hour. But they know like it's a good thing because we're like, oh, we're close.
Yeah.
We're almost there.
I'm like, right. But we keep the energy nice and calm. I've had other clients that didn't say anything, but all they were like, I need my partner right here, like glued to my forehead. Like I need something right here with me so I can transition into this next spot.
And it is you don't want to go alone or do it alone, right? And for some people, like I think like with I don't remember it being anywhere near that level of intensity with my second. So I think there are people who maybe don't experience it as intensely with the first, and they do more so with the second. We talk about transitions, like our transition from no kids to one kid was the most challenging thing that we've ever been through in our relationship. 1 to 2 kids was like, roll in, kid, here we go. Whereas other people, the first one is like,
this is
they're a happy, easy baby. And the second one is like, oh, holy moly. Like, I feel like we've never done this before. And that is harder for them.
Totally.
So, but I think that moment, that shift, I do think that's something that most people experience because it is profound, well beyond what is physically happening or how much pain we're experiencing. And I don't think you even know what it is in the moment or why it's happening, right? It's not just fear of the other side.
Exactly.
It's that literally that's the moment of transition into the next person, because now as soon as, literally you get through that contraction, you just did the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, right? Like that whole thing. And it doesn't mean everything after that's easy. Yeah. But it was a very interesting kind of perspective on that.
No, I love it.
And I think that I don't know that it ever happens again to that degree, but then it's not like poof, you are like in one hand, like poof, you are the person, right? Like you are the person that did that and that can do all these other things, but you're still learning, and that identity is constantly shifting, right? Like me as a parent now, like my identity is I'm a parent of a teenager. I have 2 high schoolers, you know? So like a patient yesterday, I was like, literally day and time, I will give you my teenager for 3 hours and I will take your newborn. Yeah. No questions asked. Like, absolutely. If I had a time machine, I would love to be able to go back to different moments, right? Because there are so many beautiful things about it. But the transition's always, it continues always. Yep. The identity is always shifting. You hear people talk about being empty nesters, right? Yeah. Like, so it isn't static. Totally. And it isn't right or wrong, but it's really, really challenging. And I think so much of that is coming from external forces. Yeah. Some that we may not even be aware of. So I think as much as we can, sort of adopting I don't love the like, let them completely, but I do like the observe and don't judge. Yeah. Like observing isn't enough to really be part of the village and be part of the support system. Totally. Probably. Yeah. But if you want to be part of a village, be welcomed in, and you want to be a support person in a community of parents, judgment free has got to be kind of the baseline. Absolutely. Because nobody needs it. It doesn't serve anyone in any positive ways. Yeah. I think that oftentimes it can come from, especially from family and friends, it can come from a place where they're trying to be helpful. But when you are the person giving advice, you need to decide before you say anything, are they in a space to receive this? Yep. Because if they're already feeling bad about things and they're already feeling judged, even if you don't mean it as judgment, it still gets received as judgment.
Well, this is where self-awareness comes into play if you are part of the village, because, you know, it's just like what we hear a good amount of, like, oh, I finally learned to not just give unsolicited advice. I learned to ask, what do you need in this moment?
Yeah.
If they don't have an answer to that, then you kind of guide it and be like, do you need advice? Do you need me to listen?
Yeah.
Or do you need some comfort?
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Easy peasy right there.
Yeah.
That's how you can support somebody if you don't, if you want to, but you also have to kind of like trek and see where they are.
Yes.
Because if they're not going to be open to receiving what you have to say, no matter how carefully you choose your words, how they receive it is not going to be the way you intended for it to land.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't control how they receive it. You know, a lot of people will be like, well, I was just trying to help. I'm like, I get it. They get it. You think it's helpful. It wasn't helpful to them in the moment, right? So yeah, having some of that self-awareness, then I think like when you see a parent struggling, literally, if you have had kids, put yourself back in that space. Like, what did you need? Yeah. Right. And sometimes it's to refill your water bottle, right? Sometimes it's to hold the baby, but saying, can I hold your baby? They may not want you to hold the baby. So it's like, what do you need right now? Yeah. What can I do in this moment to help you? And then maybe, and sometimes, you know, sometimes they don't know. So if there's no answers, can I hold the baby? Can I make you a cup of tea? Yeah. Can I pick up your toddler from preschool if that's allowed? You know what I mean? Like that is super helpful versus, you know, somebody who's, well, I don't know, my baby latched without problems. I don't know why you're struggling. Or have you tried the C-hole? Have you tried the blah, blah, blah? Like in that moment of struggle is not a place where they're ready to receive advice, and it's not helpful.
Yeah. And that's where you can ask, what have you tried already? Yeah. That way, because I know how I get sometimes when I'm struggling through a problem, and we connect on this really well because we think of all the 5 million ways that we can fix this problem. And so we've already thought about it. And then if someone's like, well, have you tried this? And you're like, yeah, I already tried that. Yeah. Have you thought? Yeah, I've already thought about it. Blah, blah, blah. And then it just becomes an unproductive conversation.
I literally yelled at my husband in the last, it might've been 48 hours ago, where I was trying to fix something in just like in a document. And you know, what he said was, have you tried? And I just looked at him and was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's the first thing I tried. Like, of course. And he was like, oh, well, he thought it was in like a different software. Anyway, I was just like, but
that's
not helpful right now.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Right. And it's like, I understand the intention is to be helpful because my partner's done this too. Yes. And I'm like, okay, Brittany, calm down. He's just trying to be helpful. He's fine. But also just like asking, what have you tried? Yeah. Great. So we tried all these things. If you're like, cool, I don't know, let's call someone in because those are all the things I was going to say and I don't know what to do. That's a more productive conversation. That's going to be well received versus the latter. And like, if you have something they haven't tried, be like, cool. Are you open to another suggestion? I get all of this stuff. I tried all this stuff too, and it didn't work for me.
Can I share with you what worked for me?
Exactly.
And if they'd say no, then don't be offended.
And even just like, for who is pregnant and in the new parenting role too, like in your pregnancy, we have been taught as women specifically right now to do it on our own. We've taught like, I can do it on my own. I can do this. And it's like, yes. And
or that you should be able to.
Yeah.
And if you're not,
what's wrong with you? Like you can't handle it. Maybe you shouldn't have made this choice. A lot of the judgment that happens. But at the same time, what I've seen, and they're like supposed to be funny videos and all this kind of stuff, but one that like sticks in my brain, when she was pregnant, she had a really big craving for like a specific thing. Her husband went out and got it for her. And then when he came home, he was so excited because he had the thing that was like, this is going to make her so happy, like cravings. Yeah. And then she was upstairs bawling her eyes out in bed. And he was like, what's wrong? And she was like, I made you go get this food and now I don't want it anymore and I'm so sorry and I feel so bad because I asked for your help and you did it and all this, right? And he was like, well, what do you want? She's like, I really just want rice and ranch dressing. And
I think I've
like,
seen that video.
And she's bawling. He's like, honey, it's okay. And she's like, but you went and did this for me. And he's like, because I'm here to support you. He's like, I'll eat the chicken sandwich. That's fine. Like I will make you rice and ranch because I love you, right? Like so he's like, and she goes, but I want like the homemade ranch dressing, not the one from like the hidden ranch. He was like, I'll make you homemade ranch. Like it's okay. But still having that awareness and understanding too, like most support partners cannot understand what's happening in the moment because
Yeah.
they're not feeling what's going on in their body,
Yeah.
right? And so that's hard to just register in general.
Yep.
But not the biggest thing that I always want to say is like, don't take it personally.
Yes.
And you said that earlier, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about them. Either way,
Yeah.
like, asking for support is already hard enough. And now when you change your mind and they already did the thing you asked, like,
Yep.
that guilt just
Yep.
continue. Like, I wish I could do it on my own because I'm supposed to be doing it on my own and like all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we have to just rewrite that script.
Yes.
In general, in
Yes.
my opinion, just from what we've seen in practice, and just all the support that I've been able to provide for our clients too throughout the years, I'm just like, number one, like, let's just take a step back and realize that we're both going through a big change,
Yep.
and to not take it out on each other or
Yeah.
think it's something that the other person is doing wrong.
Yeah.
And this isn't a healthy relationship. This is
Yeah.
not there.
Yeah.
There are red flags, outliers, all the kind of stuff. Like, this isn't a
Absolutely.
healthy relationship.
Giving each other the benefit of the doubt,
Mm-hmm.
assuming best of intent.
Mm-hmm.
I think being clear as much as you can
Yeah.
with what you want or need.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, like in that situation, it's like, I thought that's what I wanted, but it wasn't what I wanted. And so
Yeah.
sometimes it's also even pressure on, the struggling person to figure out what they need.
Yeah.
And that's pressure
Absolutely.
that they don't need
Yep.
to be asked what they need because
Yep.
they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you are the support person or you were the one trying to offer help, use your experience to figure out what you can do and how you can support,
Mm-hmm.
but hopefully through the lens of what do you know about this person.
Mm-hmm.
And so if this is somebody that's really close to you, hopefully they do know how to support you. They know that you're stressed out about the fact that your house isn't clean
Mm-hmm.
and they're just going to clean your house for you.
Yep.
Right. If you are the person who is struggling either as, new mom or even, the other parent or partner, if you have it within your capacity to know what you need,
Mm-hmm.
ask for what you need,
Yep.
use your words,
Yep.
Be as clear with people as possible, especially those who are there and are willing to help.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of ego on both sides,
Totally.
right? Where it's like, well, I don't think I should have to ask for help. I don't think I should need help. Like, there's a lot of us like that.
Mm-hmm.
So even the asking or the letting
Yeah.
somebody do things is really hard.
Especially if it's not the exact way you would do it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Ask my mom about the macaroni and cheese incident.
Well, even just parenting too. Like, I run it, like, we don't have kids yet, but we have 2 dogs.
Yeah.
And the way he handles the dogs versus the way I handle the dogs
Yeah.
are very different. And I have to let go a lot because they love him, of course. Right.
Yeah.
And he's not doing anything bad. It's
Yeah.
just not how I would do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of letting go. And I think hopefully, before you have a baby with somebody, you've had conversations about some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you've at least thought about it. Hopefully you've talked about it, but there's a lot of it that you're not even going to have a chance to think about or talk about until you're faced with it because you can't anticipate all the things.
Totally.
And then I think, for those who are providing the support, like you also kind of have to let go of the ego and identity that you have for how you thought you were going to support this person and what role you thought you were going to play and what identity you thought you were going to have in the relationship with this new baby.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 friends who their friendship ended and never spoke again because one person provided a certain type of support to the other in the early postpartum days, and that was really helpful and it was what she needed. But then when roles were reversed and the other woman had a baby, this woman, that was what she needed. So that's what she tried to provide. And that is not what she wanted. In fact, they didn't want anyone in the home and they wanted just to have it to themselves. And she was so offended and so upset that she wasn't allowed to offer the same level of support, literally ended their friendship.
That makes me so sad.
It's really sad. And it's like, I know it came from a good place.
Mm-hmm.
And in your mind, it would have been really helpful and really would have helped them. And you want to return the favor, but it's not what they wanted.
Yeah.
And you don't get to decide that for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So you also have to sometimes let go of that identity that you thought you were going to have because it's not what they need, or it's not the role that you play. I see this a lot with, I think, grandparents.
Yeah. Grandparents, like siblings, not so much. Grandparents, I mean, just looking at culture and traditions and what's happened in the past and things like that, it's really hard to relate because the generations are so different. Like my grandma had Twilight births, and if you don't know what Twilight birthing is,
did mine.
Yeah, exactly right. So that generation, don't want to say they were completely disconnected from the experience, but
they weren't deeply connected.
They weren't very, exactly, right? Just the nature of what a Twilight birth is, where they weren't completely knocked out, but when they came to, they didn't remember what happened, right? So that type of bonding is a little bit different in how they raised their children, and then how our parents had their thing, and then how we have our thing. It's just looking at how birth has been different, and how parenting has been different, and how feeding has been different, and all this type of stuff, right? That we have to take into account when our grandparents, like great grandparents, our parents are coming into the picture and wanting to support, because how they did it and how they related to it is very different than how we might. And they might not understand all of it. And it also puts on more mental load to try to explain it to them too, on the person who's trying to figure it out and what feels good for them and what their values are.
There's so much that goes into it. And I think, by the time you have a child, you are no longer a child, but you are still someone's child. And so sometimes those roles and those identities and how you communicate with your parents or your in-laws, or how your partner communicates with them, that all comes into play. And it can be really hard to say, like, to stand up for yourself and say, like, I want to put my needs, my desires, like, this all has to come first, and yours has to be set aside, especially if you are doing something differently than how they did it, or what is a cultural expectation, or did you even have a conversation with them? Because that's, I think, what happens a lot is you get people who they absolutely have an idea of how they're going to support and what their role is going to be, and they see that as being part of their identity as a grandparent, as an aunt or uncle, as your bestie, whatever it is. And then you come in and you're like, yeah, that's not happening. You've rocked their world.
Totally.
And there are people who, again, when we get into a place of nervous system dysregulation and stress, who are going to freeze, or who are going to fawn and be like, oh, okay. Like, how much stress is that putting on you? How does this impact the baby? How does this impact your relationship with your partner? Like, is it worth it? Sometimes it is really hard to stand up for yourself, and it is hard to set those boundaries, so that you can maintain the identity that you need to have. It's ongoing. Absolutely. It really just is. So, and
there's just watching my family members become parents and things like that too. There is so much judgment on ourselves. For example, when our child misbehaves outside the home, right? Like, oh my gosh, we're in the grocery store and they're falling on the ground, throwing a tantrum, and I don't know what to do because I'm now dysregulated and all this kind of stuff, right? What's her, Dr. Becky Good Inside? Yeah, I think that's her handle for Instagram. She's awesome at explaining things like that too. But just having grace with yourself in those moments, I think, is really important, because then it doesn't feel so big. It can, all right, this sucks. This is not what I anticipated for my grocery store run. My whole day is now derailed. Like, yes, we have to be real about the implications of those types of things that happen. But at the same time, understanding, like, your child is also trying to regulate themselves and they're having a hard time right now. And so taking that judgment and giving yourself grace, like, is so important at every single stage, whether they're 2, whether they're 20. It's, going through watching your kids get married and maybe divorced and all this other stuff that can happen, right? Like, there's so much change that happens throughout this entirety of deciding to be a parent.
And I would say to the general public, don't stare at the mom in the grocery store whose kid's throwing a tantrum. Like, mind your beeswax, move along, unless you've got something helpful, which I'm going to guess you don't. Every once in a while. But, we'll see posts like, hey, to the mom in line at the grocery store today whose kid threw a tantrum and you abandoned your cart. Like, I see you. You handled it really calmly. And, you remain calm. Like, I love seeing stuff like that because it's like, I don't think there's ever that assumption when you're that parent. The
Yep.
assumption is everyone is staring, like your baby's crying on the plane, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone is staring at me. Everybody hates me.
Yep.
Everybody, it was like judgment doesn't serve anyone. Like I promise you, no one on this plane wants this baby to stop crying more than the mom holding the baby.
Yep.
Nobody in the grocery store wants the tantrum to end faster than the mom of the toddler.
Yep.
So give yourself grace, and if you are able to remain calm, the situation will resolve better in a better manner typically. And if you're not involved in the situation or on the outside of the situation, like they don't need your judgment. Just move along. And try not to be part of the problem. That's kind of all things in parenthood. It's really easy to sit back and judge other parents for the choices they make when they're different than yours. And so I will sometimes see, I mean, again, even now with teenagers, my kids know better than to pull the, well, so-and-so's parents. I'm like, nothing's going to get you a no faster than trying to convince me to do it the way somebody else does it. But there are sometimes choices that we see parents make, and sometimes they're kind of baffling to us because we make different choices, but keep that judgment inside your head, it observe, don't judge. It's like interesting. Like sometimes I was like, that's genius. Why didn't I think of that?
Totally.
Sometimes that people doing things differently is a good thing, and you learn something, and sometimes it's not. But also at the end of the day, you also don't know their kids as well as they know their kids. You know your kids. And your job is to be the best parent to them that you can be. What works for your family probably isn't going to work for other families and other kids. And so that's like at the end of the end days of this identity as a parent, that's what you need to be able to say. Is like, I was the best mom for this kid. That's all you can hope for.
Absolutely. Cool. Thank you.
Well, that wraps up today's topic. I do think we probably could talk about this topic at length, and we will have another conversation, I think, about identity from a partner perspective, a dad perspective, because that is also a very massive shift. I don't know if it is as momentous or as quick as it is for moms. I do think it can take a little bit. Can be a little bit more gradual for them, but we'll touch on that topic on another day. Thanks for joining us. As always, if you have any questions, any dialogue, anything to add into the comments, we do read them. We're happy to have them. And we'll see you on the next episode.
If you found today's episode helpful, you can subscribe, share it with a friend, or leave a review. It helps this podcast reach the families who need it most. You can find us at Belly Bliss in Denver and online for resources, workshops, and support. Until next time, take care of your body and trust its wisdom.